The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. On this Thursday, I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We begin with some breaking news from overnight. County firefighters are investigating a massive blaze in downtown Taft. The 2-alarm fire broke out just after 8:30 last night at a building on Center Street. County firefighters spent hours dousing the flames with water. It's still not known if the building that caught fire was vacant or if anyone was hurt. We're still working to get more information, and we'll update you as soon as we learn more.
The Bakersfield Police Department is investigating the discovery of human remains. Here's what we know so far, according to police. Officers were called to the 4400 block of Chester Avenue near the bridge around 6 o'clock last night, where they confirmed there were human bones. Police say it is too soon to know if there was any trauma involved or if it was a natural death. Investigators will return to the scene later today, and we'll have updates for you later tonight.
From our 17 News follow-up file this morning, new information on that deadly crash we first covered on Sunrise's Breaking News 3 weeks ago. It involved 2 Bakersfield police officers and another vehicle. 17 News has learned one officer might face manslaughter charges in connection to this crash. 17's Michaela Armstrong has the latest.
It has been nearly 3 weeks since the fatal crash involving BPD and another vehicle on South Vineland and Muller Roads. And 17 News has obtained court documents filed by the Highway Patrol stating based on the circumstances of the collision, the driver of the Ford Taurus was in violation of Penal Code Section 192C1, also known as gross vehicular manslaughter, which requires proof that the driver acted with gross negligence. That Ford Taurus was a marked BPD car. There were 2 officers in the car, but BPD and CHP refused to say who was driving the car. Attorney Daniel Rodriguez, who was representing the family of one of the victims, Mario Lares, who was killed during the crash, says gross negligence is obvious.
If he was going 70, 75 miles per hour, 80 or even more, that's not just mere negligence, simple negligence, that's gross negligence. Okay.
Rodriguez says his investigation proves the officers never stopped at the stop sign the morning of the crash.
Based on the skid marks and the preliminary information, there's no way it could have gotten to that speed from stopping and then accelerating. So that tells us, common sense tells us, that he never stopped at the stop sign. If it was you or I, was that kind of information or evidence against us, would there be any question that we would be charged with vehicular manslaughter?
Now it is up to the district attorney to decide whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony.
They have the ultimate say, the last word on the matter, not the CHP.
However, he believes with the evidence, the choice is easy.
The question becomes, is he going to be treated, is this officer going to be treated like he's above the law because he's got a badge? Is he going to get a free pass? Or is he going to be treated the way you and I would be treated?
Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
Since the crash, the Highway Patrol's declined to answer even basic questions about the incident, including which officer was driving, whether the officers were wearing safety belts, if the police officers' car's emergency lights and siren were on, and if anyone involved in the accident was given a drug or alcohol test. You can find more on this story on our website, KGET.com.
This morning, the clock and calendar say time has nearly run out to find survivors in the rubble of the massive earthquakes that rumbled across Turkey and Syria. But heart and raw determination tell another story. Rescuers continue to pull people out alive. You are taking a live look at the rescue operation happening right now at one of the buildings that collapsed in Turkey as crews exhaust themselves looking for signs of life. There, of course, is no escaping this soul-crushing reality. This morning's update is grim as we learn more than 17,000 lives have been lost in the 2 countries. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez and his team have made their way closer to the quake's epicenter in southern Turkey.
About 72 hours after those catastrophic earthquakes, more remarkable rescues in Turkey and Syria. This newborn survivor hoisted from the rubble. Another young girl pulled out to applaud. And her grandfather's relief. This 1.5-year-old rescued and then reunited with her father. Jubilation amid the horror. That horror stretches far and wide here. We traveled to Kahramanmaraş, the epicenter, a city that endured both the initial 7.8 magnitude quake and its devastating aftershocks. These satellite images show the city before the quakes and after. Now it is as miserable as it is frigid.
It's a chaotic scene. There are people huddled here in the cold. Some are crying. Multiple buildings on this block have collapsed, and there's an active search and rescue operation underway.
But every few minutes, they discover another body, and another family is crushed with agony.
How critical is every minute here?
Every second counts, this rescuer says. Looking on is 17-year-old Tunahan Nar, who tells us at least 5 of his extended family members have been found dead here. At least 3 others are missing. He's in shock.
One big white light. Everywhere were white. I looked and the chair was shaking so bad.
Across the border in Syria, at least 300,000 people have been displaced. And while there are signs of hope, like this family who was rescued, crews are also digging this mass grave for those who were not as fortunate. Turkey's President Erdogan toured the devastation and publicly acknowledged problems with the initial response. This woman tells us she's waiting to hear from missing loved ones, and it's difficult to accept what's happened.
And just within the last few minutes, we've heard from a search and rescue team from Israel that they've just made contact with a woman who's trapped inside that building.
We meet her anxious father and brother, who've already lost other relatives.
How hard is it to know that she is still trapped in there?
Worse than death, he says. And for so many here who are suffering, is expected to get even colder.
And fresh off his State of the Union speech, President Biden took his message to the Midwest before he heads to Florida. But as he spreads his message of economic improvement and unity, House Republicans are flexing their muscle with hearings related to the president's policies. NBC's Drew Petrimo has more from Washington.
Well, hello, Madison, hello, laborers, and a hello.
2 days, 2 key states. Wednesday, President Biden in battleground Wisconsin.
We've created 12 million new jobs, 500,000 jobs just last month. We've created more jobs in 2 years, than any president's created in a single 4-year term.
The president expanding on the economic and unity message he delivered in his State of the Union.
Democrats and Republicans, we can actually work together.
While the president talks about working with Republicans on the road,
without objection, so ordered.
Back in Washington, the GOP-controlled House using its new majority to tackle issues the party says Democrats ignore.
You understand how hypocritical this is, right?
On Wednesday, Republicans sparred with Twitter executives, accusing them of suppressing conservative content.
I think your bias has had consequences.
I believe that what's happening here is my Republican colleagues know that the premise of this whole hearing is misleading.
The hearings sure to provide fodder for Republican attacks against President Biden if he seeks re-election.
I've made that decision. That's my intention, I think, but I've made that decision firmly yet.
Today, the president heads to Florida, home to 2 potential rivals, former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, setting up what could be a preview of the 2024 presidential election. Asked during an interview if he plans to seek re-election in 2024, the president's first response, watch me. Drew Petrimo, NBC News, Washington.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.